What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I know this is the day that you guys have all been waiting for. As always, this is Dan. We are with the Motor Misfits, and this is Motor Talk. As always, I am joined with Mr. Craig. How are you today?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, man. It's always great to get together and get to talk a little bit about bikes and just not just bikes, but just, the stuff that we like to do, stuff that's going on with us. So always great to get out and kind of share that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know. With everything that's been going on as far as cold weather we just had and whatnot, man, I know I'm itching. I'm itching to get on that bike. I am
Yeah.
itching to go somewhere.
Well, good news. I was
Um,
out and I
you
started
know,
every bike. So, I actually sat on yours a little bit, rolled it around the garage.
well, I mean, hell, I mean, if you wanted to, you could in your garage pull your cars out, and you could do a little like those police officer like
Yeah, those like,
courses in your garage.
yeah, I could. I don't know that I would do so hot on it on the bikes that we've got in there, but, that's definitely a possibility, I
Eh,
guess.
pull the one off at the one that's at the tree line. You'll be able to do it. Don't worry.
Yeah, there we go. Yep, yep. So,
So,
uh,
but getting into it, I know right now everybody's starting to do a lot of planning for trips and rides and whatnot. But I was thinking, what's probably the most memorable like time that you've had on your bike, whether it be your current bike or your other bike. Like, what's your most memorable moment behind the bars?
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great one. So I've kind of got two. One of them is on my current bike. I had it, I don't know, probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we loaded up on it and went to Tennessee, which is not too far from where I live. It's about 5 hours, and just had a great time. In Tennessee, it was over a fall break. And just had a great time. It was with my wife, and we got to just kind of ride and just have a good time and hang out. And it's one of those that a lot of times we take it for granted, the time that we get to spend with our family and the people around us. But it's great to be able to get out and see some things. You see it when you're driving down the road. You see it on a car, in a car, but it's different when you're on a bike. You get to go to some spots that you're like, oh wow, what in the world? I've never like I've driven by this place, 50 times, and I never even knew it was here. And that's one of the great things about two wheels or four wheels for that case too. But just getting out and being able to see the world and getting to see part of the nation that haven't been to, or maybe you have but you haven't really experienced it. And then the other one, not on a great note, but the day that I actually proposed to my wife, we got rear-ended on my motorcycle. So we were driving through a city, and we're at a stoplight, and a drunk driver didn't see us and plowed right into the back of my old bike that I had, and did some damage to it. Luckily, nobody was really hurt. My wife had a little bit of whiplash because, of course, she took the brunt of it because she was on the back of the bike. But that's a memory that's going to live forever. Not only was it the day that we got engaged, but it was the first time that we had been in a serious motorcycle wreck also. So, those are memories that aren't gonna ever go away. We're always gonna have those. And one of them's a great time, and another one is not such a great time. But it's all on two wheels, and it's all time that we got to spend together and have those experiences.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I can go. I'll kind of piggyback on yours. I'll give you one good experience, and one bad experience. I would say my good experience. Um, I did. I believe it was 2 years ago. Maybe, yeah, 2 or 3 years ago. I did the loop around Lake Michigan, and if you've never done it, It's a long trip, but it was so fun. Um, some of the company was good, some of it was a little different. A lot has changed, but um, I can't. I'm not going to take back those memories that I had. I mean, some of the views that you don't realize that,
Yeah.
like you said, this nation has. And people are like, oh, Michigan or Wisconsin. Michigan, we spent a little bit more time. Wisconsin, we kind of just blew through. But some of the views to be able to look, you know, and we're on some steep inclines parking the bike and going through the tunnel of trees or going over the Mackinac Bridge,
Here's the
and then
question:
getting up into
Mackinac
the
Bridge.
UT.
Mackinac Bridge. Did you ride the grate or did you ride the pavement side?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You got to ride the grate. You cannot ride the pavement. I didn't get a chance necessarily to look down as much as I would. A lot of people say, oh, if you get up to a certain speed, it's like you're not there. But because I usually 9 times out of 10, I'm the one that's usually leading the group. Um, I don't get a chance to necessarily um, take in a lot of the scenes. It's more of I'm concerned for I take a lot. I'm concerned about the safety of everybody behind me.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the safety that I have. Where I'm going and whatnot. So that's one thing I guess that would be a positive and a negative in a way, but the Mackinac was great. Once we got up north, the riding's totally different. It reminds me,
Yeah.
I got family that's my family's came over and we were in Embarrass, Minnesota, which is about 45 minutes uh, south of the Canadian border. It's right on the Superior, like right by the top of the hat. So, but it reminds me of that very wooded, very just a different, and especially being I'm in the Chicagoland area, so I have to go 45 minutes to an hour out just to get some sort of forestry, where I know you get to see it
Yeah, I can look
on
at
a
my
day. Well,
door.
yours is cornfield, and you can
Beans.
just look out your back door on it. But I would say that was probably my most memorable trip. Now I've been on other trips too. Like I did the Natchez Trace, which we got to do.
Yeah.
That was such a great trip. Again, there's a lot of other trips that you just don't really think about. I mean, if you could put each little tidbit, I mean, there's all little
Yeah.
things that were good, and then there was things that were bad, and sometimes the company that you were with you may didn't want to be with or whatever, you know what I mean? But you kind of make it to what you got, And then I'll say the 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 worst experience that I've had on a motorcycle is I was in an accident. It's definitely changed the way I ride a little bit in group rides. We were doing a charity ride. It's called Freedom Ride, and it's for all the soldiers that have lost their lives. And when you sign up for it, when you get there, everybody's given a dog tag, and on that dog tag's name is a soldier that has lost his life fighting for this country, and whatnot. And I was able to ride up front. I mean, they had over 500-600 bikes that day, and a lot of times when you're riding in these groups, these people don't know how to ride, or they're not familiar with riding in group formation, and you can attest to this. What happens when you get to a
Yeah.
stop and you make a turn? Everybody just takes off.
Yeah.
So, well, we took off, and the guy that was in front of me, he basically grabbed a whole lot of brake, and we were on a 2-lane road, and it was either I go into the oncoming traffic or I go into the ditch that has the big rock
Yeah.
boulders, for drainage, or I go in the back to him. So I stopped pretty hard. I hit the back of his bike. I went down. My radio's still blasting. There's a police officer that's right here. He had
Yeah.
a dash cam. I get up. I'm rolling. I'm like, oh man, I'm good. I'm good. I see the people that I'm with. They're jumping off the bikes before it even stopped. And I got back up on the bike. I'm all bloody. I get back on the bike. I'm riding for the rest of the day. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. So then I go to the ambulance place, and they went ahead and they bandaged me up and whatnot. I rode the rest of the day that day, and then come to find out, I had a broken hand, and that's my clutch hand.
Yeah.
So I was riding, and I broke it right into here. And the sad part is that same day there were like 6 or 7 motorcycle riders that passed on their way to it.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember
which
you telling
a
me
lot of
that,
times,
that
yeah,
because just after that is when we met. I met you with your broken
yeah,
hand from that accident.
yeah, and again, I guess they say things happen for a reason, and I guess but um, I will say that's changed me as a rider. I'm very leery and cautious on who I ride in front of or behind. When I ride with you, I know that if I'm leading, you are I can reach back and touch your fairing, your front fairing. I know that you're there, and I know that if I have to make an evasive maneuver, you are there, and you know my mannerisms just as I
Yeah.
know your mannerisms.
Well,
If you
that's
start seeing me pop my head like this way, I'm trying to move lanes, or if I start saying, let's go, get closer to me, whatever, like
yeah.
you understand where a
Well,
lot of
that's
times when you don't
you
go
hit the
ahead.
nail you hit the nail right on the head. It's one of those when you ride a lot and you ride with people a lot, you know kind of their mannerisms, what they're thinking. And we ride a lot together, and when I can kind of when you're leading, I can kind of pick up on what your next move is, what you're doing. So then, I can help get the group, over, or get the group wherever going. And that's one that we can kind of segue to. We were riding together in, it was West Virginia, I believe it was, and I was leading, and you were right beside me, and all of a sudden we get to our next stop or whatever, and you were like, "Hey, what was going on? Like, what happened?" We rode like
Yeah,
it was like
yeah.
40 more miles or whatever, and we get to the stop, and you're like, "What happened? What went on?" And I was like, "I got stung by a bee, literally underneath my helmet in my neck." And I don't remember the last 40 miles of that thing. And you're like, yeah, you like slowed way down. We were like pinned beside a truck. You were like, I knew something was up because you weren't riding the same. It was different.
Right. Oh yeah, I was right next to that semi, and I'm just like, what's going on? Like I didn't know, I didn't know if you were upset because something going on back there. And again, a
Yeah.
lot of times me, I'm an emotional rider. I will say that 1,000%. You piss me off, I'm gonna make sure you know about it, whether you're a car or on a bike. You know what I mean? And the thing is, if you're riding in a group, and I'll say this is a rule of thumb: know the group you're riding with and know the style of riding that they're riding with.
Yeah.
Because if you are not the type of person, I'm not saying that we ride unsafe, but we are very aggressive, safe drivers when it comes to the entire uh, thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not
Uh,
going
We
body
make
crazy.
we make sure that we're seen, and we make sure that we're not in a spot where we're going to cause an accident, or an accident is going to happen around us. We don't want to ride
Hmm.
pinned between two semis. That's not where we're going to hang out. We're going to make sure we get around the semis. The same with cars. We're not going to be pinned in between 4 or 5 cars. That's not where motorcycles are safe. So we don't, as a group, we don't ride there. We make sure we either get ahead of that or behind it, and that's where a lot of the stuff can kind of happen.
Now that's something like, especially if you're a newer rider, that's something that's going to come in time. Like I know in Illinois, and I know that Indiana has something like this. But so when I went to go get my motorcycle license, I chose to take a class through the state. It was a $20 donation. It was a 2 day, 3 day class, whatever it was. And by the time it was done, they taught me the ins and out of the motorcycle, how to ride them, and whatnot. Does Indiana have something similar to
Yeah,
that?
Indiana
That
has
after
the
you're done with the course,
Yep, yep. So
they
in
give you a
Indiana, there's
license?
very few places that you can actually go and just take the test on your bike. The skills test. So most places, or I don't know of any that you can just show up and take it. So most places you've got to go and you've got to do the class and got to do the riding skills, and they put you through all the skills. And by the time you're done, you've got your endorsement. You've got to go to the license branch and get it put on your license and everything. But there's not anything extra you've got to do once you've done the course. So it's a lot like what you've got to do in Illinois.
See, like the DMVs up here, you can go. I mean, they have certain days that you have to go, but you can go if you just want to take your bike and do the class. You can do it, and either it's a pass or fail, and whatnot. My my buddy Eddie, or our buddy Eddie, who you've
Yeah.
ridden with before, he went and he took his road glide and did the whole thing. Now, I'm not going to air out laundry, but he's been a rider,
Yeah.
like some of us. We ride in dirt bikes and whatnot, and a license sometimes becomes an afterthought. But I don't know if I could do it on a bagger.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
going
know I
into
can't. I know I can't on my road glide because my bars hit my fairing before I can actually get it turned around. So it's like a 38-point turnaround.
Now, have you ever thought about? And I know that there's some courses. There's one in Ohio. That they offer advanced classes, like some of these ones where they're dragging their
Yeah.
tour, the saddlebags on the ground, and I know they allow you to bring your own bike.
Right. So there's a guy in
Is that something
Georgia.
that you've ever listened to
Yeah,
or
so
thought
there's
about?
I think he's in Georgia, southern Georgia, and he puts them on, and they're free. Like you show up with your bike, it doesn't cost you anything, and he puts you through an advanced course, and it's all on your own bike, and it's kind of getting you used to the style and things that you're going to do, because of course a lot of the courses or whatever that you can go to, they give you a much smaller bike, a 250cc bike or whatever, and you can throw that
Yeah,
around,
well, that's what they gave us.
super easy. It's a whole lot different when you're on a 900-pound bagger to be able to do that same stuff. But he puts you through this course, and it's just amazing. I think he's done 150 or 160 of them, and he just puts out the date. Hey, I'm going to be here with my cones and my trailer, and I'm going to walk you through all of these things. And
Is
I
this
think
someone on YouTube, by the way?
yeah, he does it on YouTube. He films it, but it's
Do you know his name at all?
I
Or
forget his
can
name.
we
I
drop it?
will. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. But he does a great job. There's all kinds of different riding academies out there that you can go to and do. But a lot of them are teaching the same type of thing, the same type of style of riding. And those are great. We don't have one
Hmm.
super close to me, at least. I'm sure there's probably one up in the Chicago area that I could get to, but it's just a matter
I
of
think we have to
getting
go
to them.
northern Indiana or northern Ohio. I believe that's where it's at.
Yeah,
But again, it's all about your bike.
yeah,
Learn your bike, learn the mannerisms of your bike, how it's going to react, how it's going to move, and also, with me, I mean, my bike's what, maybe let's say 1,200 pounds. Let's say 1,200 pounds dry, meaning not with me on it, just with what I have in it,
yeah.
roughly. I'm just gonna get, now throw me on, and then throw, my passenger on or my girlfriend on, and whatnot. It's gonna react totally different,
Oh yeah, yeah.
totally different.
My
And
bike
and that's
is
one thing is,
my bike is the same way. It's 850 pounds without anything on it, but by the time me and my wife and we get it loaded for a trip or whatever, it can be we can get up to the 1,200-pound range pretty quick. You don't think that luggage is very heavy, but once you pull it off and put it on a scale, it actually really is pretty heavy. And it reacts completely different. And we've done some stuff where we've ridden, you rode with us to the Tail of the Dragon, and we did that. I did it without a passenger at all, and didn't have any luggage on the bike, nothing, because we were staying in a hotel there. And it's completely different riding it that way as opposed to riding it loaded down with luggage and a passenger and everything on it. Not that the skill really changes. It's just a different ride.
it's a different ride. Adjust your suspension, especially with air ride or some have progressives or whatnot on it. That's one thing too, because sometimes you overload that bike. You definitely have to watch
Yeah.
your weight. I mean, a lot of times I know they say something stupid like you can only put 50 pounds in your tour pack or
Yeah.
something
My
like
luggage
that.
rack says
But
10.
it's like,
My luggage rack says you
you
can only
know,
put
it,
10 pounds on it.
I've got the luggage that sits, it cradles in my little tour pack
Yeah.
rack that's back there, and that's got to be 50 pounds alone, and then
The
add in
bag, the
all
bag
the
that I
stuff
put
that
on
you
my
have.
luggage rack is 32 pounds. Just the bag, nothing in
Yeah.
it. Just the bag itself. It weighs 32
Oh
pounds.
wow, and that's crazy. And then you're starting to think, you're like,
And
okay,
what's
well,
really funny is,
now put your passenger on.
yeah, well, what's really funny is both of them are Harley. Like my luggage rack that hooks
Yeah.
onto my docking system is Harley, and it says 10 pounds. and then the bag is a Harley bag, and it's 30 pounds, and it's meant to go on that luggage rack. It's like, I mean,
That's crazy. It's crazy, but they put all these little warnings on, and I feel it's just to cover. It's CYA. I mean, it's just
oh
to
yeah,
cover their,
yeah, they're making
cover
sure
theirs. I
that
mean,
if something does happen, that they're covered. That's the whole point. But
it's
yeah,
gonna fail regardless. I mean,
yeah.
something's gonna fail eventually, but it's
I
just
think
we're
saddlebags
mindful
are
of it.
aren't
Make sure.
aren't saddlebags rated for like 15 pounds? I think
Yeah.
I think you're only supposed to put 15 pounds worth of stuff in your saddlebag. And I've been with
Hell,
you, and
I see.
we've loaded six Cokes, 6 packs of Cokes in
Yeah,
3 in each side, and I've ridden home with it. And you're talking probably 30,
exactly. Or
40
two
pounds
liters.
easy. Yeah.
Oh, or two liters. I'll tell you a real quick story. So we went up to Galena, which is north of the Chicagoland area, by Iowa and the Mississippi River, and we rode with this guy, and we went to the Piggly Wiggly, which is like a grocery store or
Grocery store. Yeah.
whatnot, and we were picking up like 2 liters and stuff like that for the B&B that we were staying at, and we put like 3 or 4 like 2 liters in a saddlebag, and we're driving back, no problem, right? The next day, we're riding, boom, his saddlebag came off and like shot up in the air and came up, and that's how we got the name saddlebag. But we're like, how did it fail when it was empty?
Empty, but we were able to stuff all this
And then,
stuff in it.
but the reason being is he still had those
Yeah. Yeah.
the old school
They're
twists
much
where you have
better
to like
now.
get it into the little needle and whatnot. Now everybody switched over to the screws. You got to switch
Yeah.
over. If you haven't done, and I'll say that's one tip. If you have not switched over your saddlebag, if you have an older Harley, I know a lot of the newer Harleys have the screws. If you have not switched over, do yourself a favor. It takes 5 minutes to do per side, if that, and change it to the screw-in ones. You're going to save yourself a lot of headache later.
So I'm going to piggyback even on that, because there's a new style. The screws are the way to go, but there's a locking screw that goes in, and it goes in and it like locks itself in so it won't come out, because a lot of the ones like mine, the stock ones, when you turn them, they've got a little angle on them. So if something gets caught
Yeah.
on them, it can actually turn itself out. The
Oh,
new
geez.
locking ones, they go in and they lock, like you can't get them out. It takes you put a key in and turn it, and it unlocks it and gets it off the bike. So if
Oh,
you're if you're
that's
switching
nice.
out, and they're flat, so they fit flat against the inside of the bag. They don't stick out. Well, I mean, they may be a little bit, but not much at all. So if you're
I
gonna
mean, it's the
upgrade,
same
get
size as that
those.
knob.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually smaller than that
So,
knob. So
oh
if
wow.
you're gonna upgrade, get the locking ones. They're the way to go. So,
Yeah,
okay, so
that's one thing I would say.
yeah, so we're gonna wrap this one up, but I want to know the weirdest thing or the strangest thing that you've carried on your motorcycle.
Okay, that I've carried knowingly or that was
Yeah,
stuck to my bike.
we just talked about sticking stuff in our bags. You're taking 2 liters of Coke, or whatever. What's one of the weirdest things that you've had on your bike?
I will say I could, yeah, pizza, man. I've had a large deep dish pizza in the back of my saddlebag, and hence the name of pizza box. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it
But
fits.
I would
It
say
sure for
that's
sure fits.
that's the weirdest. That's probably the weirdest thing. I mean, I could say, oh, what I didn't ride with it on, but I had something stuck to my bike that was. We won't get into it,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's long and
Well,
whatnot. I still the mark is still on the bike.
yeah,
It's still on the
yeah,
front.
for sure.
Still see the suction cup mark.
So
What about you? What's the weirdest thing
I,
that you ever?
my wife is huge into crafts, and she has crickets and all the vinyl and all that kind of stuff. But we got into a deal where we found a sewing machine, and we were on the bike, and it was like how, like I was telling her, I was like, how are you gonna get a sewing machine home on the bike? Like it won't fit in the
Mind
saddlebag.
you, you don't. Craig doesn't have a tour pack. He doesn't
No,
have a tour
no
pack
tour
or
pack.
anything on his
No,
bike,
no.
and he doesn't even have his sissy bar 9 out of 10. Now, if his
Yeah,
wife's on, he has it on
yeah.
there.
That
I just want to paint this picture. Okay, this is all.
So
So go ahead.
there's no tour pack. There's saddlebags, but the sewing machine, of course, is too big to fit in there. So literally, we ride home with my wife holding it behind her, like behind the sissy bar, holding it pinned against the sissy bar, like up against the back, rode home. It was probably, I don't know, 6 miles, 6 or 8 miles like that to get this sewing machine home. So when people are always like, oh, I can carry, 3 2 liters. Yeah, but can you carry a sewing machine? Is always my
Yeah. Well,
comeback to it. So
I could say, I'll go back to that real quick because again, pizza, yeah, okay, that's fine. Have you ever had a mannequin strapped to your back seat? That's the real question.
I'll
That's the
see.
real
That's where I was
question.
going. I knew
That's
that
a
you had
story.
it. I
That's
I
a
have
story. That's a story later.
yeah. I have pictures of that, but I was figuring that was where you were going, and then you said pizza. I was like, man, that's kind of lame, man. I know you've had way weirder
I was
stuff on your bike than that.
well. I've had weird stuff, and I was just thinking. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I've had the mannequin. I've had the adult device that was stuck to the front of the bike and whatnot. But again, when and I won't take this too far much further, but if you're on your bike and you gotta almost MacGyver. Just think
Yeah,
about it. Just what you guys had to do when you had to get the sewing machine on, or what we had to do when we got this mannequin body. I mean, it was just one of those weird things. But you know, again, that goes back to knowing your bike, knowing what your bike can
yeah,
handle, knowing what you can put in your bike, know how to ride with that item or thing on that bike.
yeah, for sure. It
Yeah.
just takes kind of the mindset of knowing what your bike can do and what you're comfortable doing on it. If I had to, ride 40 miles with my wife holding a sewing machine on the back of the bike, not holding on to anything at all, I'm going to be like, no, we're not doing that. But when it was, 7 miles
Right.
home through town, it wasn't nearly as bad. So
It wasn't bad. I mean, it's not like you're going 6, 7 hours later.
yeah, yeah. Looking back, I'm like,
But
that probably wasn't the best decision. But now we have a sewing machine and it's been used a whole bunch.
well, let's end it right there. But give me something, Craig, leave the listeners with or the viewers.
Um, Make sure that you're being aware of the stuff going on around you, whether that's when you're on your bike or in your car. There's always other drivers, other people around. And as we ride motorcycles, you've got to be careful and make sure that the people that are around you they see you, they hear you, they whatever, so that you're not in a position where you can get hurt or be in an accident or anything like that. So make sure that you're aware during this time where people aren't on their bikes because of the snow and because of the cold weather. Make sure you're aware of the stuff going on, because when it turns warm, you're going to start seeing those two wheels coming out.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I'll piggyback on that a little bit. I would say get to know the people that you ride with, and know their mannerisms. Are they hot headed? Are they not hot headed? Are they somebody that wants to to stay back? We've all ridden with the people that just want to sit in the right lanes, keep it in fourth, fifth gear, and not roll. And you're looking back like, come on, man, let's go. So always, I would say, get to know the people you ride with on a motorcycle, but also like personally, because sometimes you'll find out why they ride the way they ride. They may have a friend that got in an accident, or they may have whatever, and then explain to the reason why you ride the way you do, because then in all the whole scheme of things, they're going to feel more comfortable riding with you. You're going to feel more comfortable riding with them. Because I know that I'm very leery when it comes to riding with new people. Either they're going to be behind me, or I'm going to run tail gun, and I'll just make sure that they're either going to move, or I'm going to pick them up at the next stop. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just my thing. So,
There
but
we go. That's a good
but
spot to end on. So we will wrap this one up, and we will see you guys next Tuesday.